Hello, it is Michael Harvey, storyteller here. This video is following up on the previous video, which was entitled The Big Question of Storytelling. This time I'm going to delve into a very specific example, but first just a little bit more background about what it is I was doing with this group. The group was working in orthopedics, so it was a commercial company making artificial joints, basically. So that's super high level engineering in a medical context. The problem was that there was this logjam within the group and its processes. Interestingly, nobody told me what it was. So I was parachuted into a situation where I knew there was a problem, but no one mysteriously seemed to be able to tell me what it was. Now, of course, with hindsight, I can see that this is very typical. People don't want to tell you what the problem is. Anyway, let's crack on and talk about it. If you watched the previous video, you know how important a dedicated space is. A space where me and the group can work together, no interruptions, no other calls on our time. We are there in order to work creatively together using narrative, storytelling, and other art forms. Also, the environment was conducive. It was a beautiful building. It's on the South Wales coast. It's beautiful architect designed space. One side of the entire building is glass, and from there you can look down, you can see various levels of lawns and gardens, and then there's the sea, the Bristol Channel, and beyond it Devon. So absolutely beautiful, a rich place to do good work in. Then we started off, we did some creative activities with a mix of stretch and immersion and cooperative participation just to get them going, and immediately I saw the group throw themselves into the activities and really work hard. And my job at that moment, towards the beginning of the session, was just to watch the group, see how they get on, see where any problems might be, and I couldn't find any. Everyone was working together. It was a really fantastic, high-functioning group. And about halfway through the morning, I could see how the outdoors was attracting them. So the following activity, I sent them out. I sent them out in small groups to get objects from nature and bring them back. The first thing that pleased me was when I was watching them was that there were paths, of course, through this parkland, but they didn't stay on them. They went off the path. That was really, really good. But not only did they go off the path, they started to rootle around in places where people wouldn't normally go, down the bottom of hedges, into woodlands, and they brought back not just a leaf or a feather, they brought back massive, great big branches and then made installations inside the building where we were working in. And that kind of bravery and why notness was such a boost to me. So I was confused. This is a super high functioning group. What's the problem? I was trying to create a time and a place to tell the truth. I'm going to quote Annette Simmons now. You can, if you are interested in finding more about Annette's work, there's a link below this video. Her phrase is, a safe place for dangerous truths. This group was made up of very high-functioning, talented engineers, designers, medics, sales and marketing people. They knew they were good, but there was a fundamental and unnamed tension between values and practice. Each team had a manager, but there was no overall oversight of how a project would progress between the teams. We did some activities to unearth the embodied and unspoken values of the teams at work. The group was reflective and honest, and soon we knew that the group culture's number one sin was letting people down. You couldn't do that. Letting people down, bad. People in this context being your own team. Now, being only responsible and answerable to your own team in a system where there are several teams is obviously a recipe for multiple bottlenecks. But when you're in that situation, it's very hard to see the wood for the trees. In fact, it's impossible. So my job was to give the group a context in which they could see the wood for the trees and name the problem with conviction and clarity. I was not there to give them the answer, but to create the space in which the truth could be told. In other words, the where of storytelling. You'll find out more about that in the big question of storytelling video right beside this one. The big learning for me in this project was why it is so hard to tell the truth. The obvious and true response is that few people are prepared to stick their head above the parapet and tell a dangerous truth that could have repercussions for them. There is a deeper and trickier aspect to it, though, that has to be addressed. When a team or group have values and behaviour that are incompatible, a lot of emotional energy gets backed up, and telling the dangerous truth can be unsettling, upsetting, and exposing. The creative storyteller or facilitator who is running the session has the responsibility to create the space where the truth can be told with all the emotion that comes with it, and listened to by decision makers so that the right changes can be made. It can be tricky, awkward, and wonky. And in fact, the trickiness, the awkwardness, and the wonkiness are part of the process. Often we want everything to be smooth, but actually, for new learning and for new discoveries, awkwardness and wonkiness are just part of the landscape. It can be done. These transformations can be made when you understand the where of storytelling, the place. And does this approach work? Yes. And to prove it, here is what the group said. Their feedback was, this team had been together for 2 to 3 years, some a lot longer, and this must have been the first time that we actually got together and communicated, and communicated here is in block capitals. The more we talk about the training day and what we have done, the more we realise how much we've learned. We have been involved in an important project recently, the deadline for which was last week. I really believe that the training day helped us meet that deadline. These transformations come from the ground up. Giving skilled and committed groups the right combination of immersive creative activities and stretch helps them be committed to a clear truth telling so we can all crack on and get the good stuff done.